Welcome to the perpetual show. Where the loaves go, we've got flow. Oh yeah. Driving through the fields of green, oh so bright. With a loaf by your side, everything feels right. Loafing through the fields, feeling so alive. In our boxy Russian van, we're taking our stride. Past the fallen soldiers, a bittersweet sight. But we're cruising on this road tonight. Bouncing to the rhythm, calypso in our soul. The loaf's engine purring as our story unfolds. We're singing and we're dancing, the sun shining above. The loaf takes us places where we find love. Loafing through the fields, feeling so alive. In our boxy Russian van, we're taking our stride. Past the fallen soldiers, a bittersweet sight. But we're cruising on this road tonight. Bouncing to the rhythm, calypso in our soul. The love's engine purring as our story unfolds. We're singing and we're dancing, the sun shining above. The loaf takes us places where we find love.
Hello, everybody. I decided to play the song again. I didn't have time to write another song today, but that's okay because we have the old song, and it's a banger. So, today I kind of wanted to talk about a single topic, and the topic is exemplified by this image right here. This image is a T-72 B3M with a big pile of electronic warfare just, tied to the top of a little ribbon. So, the Russians, they seem to be playing a game of the EW will save us. Because they're terrified of drones, obviously. So, I just wanted to talk about this briefly. This is kind of the only topic I really wanted to talk about today. I mean, this will touch other topics too, but this was really kind of the only thing I wanted to talk about. So, here's a little. This is a translation of what a. Oh boy. I was hoping this would work better. Okay, give me a second. Okay, there we go. This is a translation for a post that came out today. It says a column of Russian armor entered. Our FPVs were dropping like flies at all frequencies because the main tank was riding a EW monster. Mad Max. It rests here. This is the tank I just showed you. On the top, they piled a monstrous structure. There were 3 panels of patch antennas of various frequencies around the circle, and blocks for more bands were added on top of all of it. From above all, okay, wait. It was tied down with ropes. It had a power generator and battery that was installed above the armor. Of course, it was difficult for pilots, but we guessed that the EW tank. Well, did the EW save the tank? It didn't save. Our valiant pilots from a number of units impressed him. It was easier with the rest of the column. So basically, what happened was the the Russians did a little attack here near Chasiv Yar, where I believe this marker drew the attack. So, yeah, where there we go. This was the attack. So they kind of started up towards Bakhmut-ish, I guess you could say. This is a Bakhmut. This road kind of curves down to Bakhmut over there. So so they started Bakhmut-ish. They came down the hill here. They went past this cemetery. They kept on going down. They drove down this tree line, and then they wrapped around. And this was one of the attacks. And then there was a second attack. Oh boy. Oh boy. Figured it out. Okay, more buttons. There's the second attack here. Oops, that wasn't it. The second attack here, they did roughly the same thing, but instead of wrapping around, they kept on going, and they tried to enter this kind of dacha area. Oh, thank you, Anthony. And yeah, I don't sleep. I actually took a nap before. Like 3 hours ago. I decided I needed a nap. And I slept for like 15 minutes. And you know what? Those 15 minutes felt like 12 hours. I woke up rejuvenated. I'm great. But anyways, so this is kind of the attack that they're talking about. These two attacks. One they kind of wrapped up. The other one they kept going. This southern one was more of a YOLO. By I think like one vehicle kind of made it that far. Anyway, it's just they kind of YOLO'd it, to the south. Now the purpose of this attack, I do not think was to attack this town at all. I don't think they care about the town, to be honest. At least not at the moment. I think their real purpose was to just dump a bunch of infantry into this tree line, because I think they want to establish a foothold in this forest and then move on to the second stage of their plan. And the second stage, oh boy, the second stage of the plan, I think personally, is to go south through this forest here. So I think like, do I still have that drawing tool? Let me see if I have that drawing tool, because right now it'd come in handy. I don't. Okay, no drawing tool. So I think the first stage, I will draw circles. We have to use some creativity, you know. That circle is way too big. Let's try again. Let's make a smaller circle. Clear all. Let's make a, I don't know. Let's make a 1.5 kilometer circle. You think that's about right? Yeah, okay. So I think their first goal is to like to get this forest. I think that's the first thing they want to do. I think the second thing they want to do is get this forest. And then I think there will be probably a divided attack where one will go for a Bodanivka, and I think the other will go to cross the canal. I think this is going to be kind of the way it goes. So, oops, I didn't mean to make that one. Anyway, so the first step was this forest. I think the second step will probably be this forest. Maybe this forest and Bodanivka at the same time. Who knows? And then I think the real attack, I think, is going to come from the south, and I think they're going to try to go up this way. I just think that's what's ultimately going to happen. I really don't think they're going to try to capture this canal area and then cross over into Novin. I don't think they're going to just bull rush through the front. I think they're going to try to go through the south. I think the south is the most logical way to attack. If Ukraine can defend the south, because crossing this canal is going to be easier said than done. If Ukraine can defend the south, you might see them try to go north. which is another option, or they could go even further south and try to go around here. This would, I mean, Klashivka would probably have to be abandoned at some point. And there could be this whole attack south. This would all be an option. But I think what they really want to do is go through this forest. And note that most of these avenues of attack don't really make use of vehicles. It's going to be mostly infantry fighting, which is kind of the worst case scenario for Ukraine. Because Ukraine does not want to really engage with infantry, because you take a lot of casualties, and Ukraine can't sustain those types of casualties. So, getting back to the EW. This is what Ukraine refers to as the Mad Max tank. We saw the same sort of setup, not exactly this, not as crazy. Look at the wooden pallet. But we saw something similar to this in Tonenka. When they did those attacks there, all of their tanks had EW on top. Not as much as EW as this one did. They had the EW that's like sitting here on top of the tank. They didn't put a wooden pallet on top and then pile even more on top. So yeah, there's this one's extra crazy. But Russia has been making use of this EW, and I think it says a number of things. First, it shows that their fear of the drones, and second, it shows that they're trying to adapt. They're trying to adapt. But are they adapting in the right way? And I want to get back to how I see drones being used and whether I think this is a good idea. So, when I see drones used, primarily, not exclusively, but primarily the drones are used to attack vehicles that are disabled or stopped somehow, like they're engaged, or they're in mud, or they fell in a hole, or they lost their tracks, or whatever. Usually the crew has abandoned the tank already, but not always. That's typically when we see drones used most commonly on vehicles. Because if you want to take a step back even further and look at the totality of the drone usage, most drones are used against infantry and defensive positions, not against vehicles. Vehicles are a subset of drone usage. So in that sense, in my mind, this electronic warfare would probably be better served at guarding the infantry that we're attacking. So this infantry attack, they were trying to come here. They drove down and they wrapped around. They were trying to come here, and they were dropping off infantry out of their various vehicles. They're using all these vehicles as a taxi, basically, to drop off their infantry. So I think the most useful thing that this EW could have done is to guard this area while the infantry disembark, because I think that's probably when they're the most vulnerable. They can disembark, go into the fields, or go into the forest, and dig in, because there's probably trenches and foxholes and stuff here already. But even if there aren't, you can start digging in, and hopefully the tank would last long enough for the infantry to get established. I think that would be the most useful way this tank could have been employed. I don't think the electronic warfare would be useful in defending the vehicles. Is that what Russia intended? Did Russia intend to defend the vehicle? I tend to believe they were trying to defend the vehicle. Because honestly, I assume that the people installing this electronic warfare were the crew of the tank. That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was somebody else. But I think the crew of the tank just didn't want to blow up, personally. So, will electronic warfare defend a vehicle? The answer is sort of. Because as I said before, the drones are not the main threat to the vehicle. The drones are kind of a tertiary threat. They're better at finishing off a disabled vehicle than they are at disabling a vehicle. Because there's only certain places on a tank that a drone can damage. Like, for example, if you look at this tank, what is a drone going to do to this tank? A drone can't hit the top of the tank, right? Like the weakest spot is the top of the turret, and it's impossible basically, because there's a net here. There's like a wire net protecting the top. You see the net here as well. The back of the turret is the second best place to go, and this back of the turret is covered by this netting. And then there's the engine in the rear, which because this is the upgraded variant of the T-72, the engine has a little bit more armor in the rear, not in the top though. So you can hit the engine, you can hit like the radiator, etc. But you can't hit the main part of the tank, and everywhere else you're not going to really cause damage. So this tank, I don't think this EW will help a tank from a drone, really. The other thing is that the biggest threats to an armored vehicle in these assaults are mines, holes in the ground, anti-tank missiles, and artillery. The EW isn't going to help them with any of those things. It's only going to help against a threat that can't really hurt the tank. So all in all, in my opinion, this EW was not really going to help the vehicles. And I think when people are looking at this situation and you see that in this attack, there's like 6 burning vehicles over here at the end of the attack. We got another video today that showed more aftermath, I mean. So there's like 6 burning vehicles, and a bunch of infantry ran into the forest, and the whole place is getting hit with artillery of various sorts. And once the tank was taken out, drones could start coming in and going after the infantry, which is more what the drones are better at in the first place. So that's kind of the topic that I wanted to talk about. And it's interesting to me not because of this attack. It's interesting because it was also used in Tonenka. It was on this assault when they were moving. Here, I'll go back in time. Let's go back in time. What day was that? Oh, it was here. Okay, so when they did this attack here, they used the same trick. They were covered in, the tanks were covered in EW. This tank, I think, got hit by a missile. This tank, I think, got hit by a missile. And the other tank, I think, got hit by a missile. And when they were all hit by missiles, the drones started coming in and finished everything off. Yeah. Yeah, and holes in the ground are, I see it, the chat is talking about it. The holes in the ground are obviously one of the biggest threats to a vehicle. I mean, people, like, you make fun of it, but, like, you try driving a tank, you know, you have a lot going on. You have a lot of threats. You know, there's mines, there's, you know, you can't see. It's hard to see. And every once in a while, you fall in a hole. It could happen to anybody. Yeah, and the EW does not look very bullet resistant, does it? It's not very armored. It's just like beatboxes on top of a tank. So what does it tell us that Russia is moving to these EW sorts of defenses on their vehicles? Well, for one, it tells us that they feel that the drones are causing a large hindrance to their assaults. And like I said, I don't think the drones are wounding the vehicles. I think they're taking out the infantry. Because the whole point of these attacks is to deliver infantry. It's an infantry delivery device. So, um, if these vehicles that are going on these assaults, if they are like for example, or just to the infantry often ride on top of the vehicles, right? We see that all the time. They rarely ride on the inside. It's usually on the top. So you don't really want drones attacking you as you're moving up for that. That's one reason. Another reason is that on your lighter vehicles, like your BMPs and your MTLBs, which is where most of your infantry is going to be, those are more susceptible to drones than a tank. Another thing is that when you're dismounting, you're more vulnerable to attack, and we see a lot of drone attacks on dismounting infantry. So your purpose is to move the infantry up. The infantry are the most vulnerable. The vehicles the infantry on are the most vulnerable. So you want to offer them some sort of shield, and that's where the EW is coming in. That's just my point. That's really kind of all I wanted to say today, is that the EW is not to defend the vehicles. Now, the other thing about EW is that it's shorter range than I think people realize. Electronic warfare, the range, you have to overpower the signal that the other device is using. So in order to overpower it, you have to have more power. But your power, especially if it's not directional, like if it's goes out in every direction, or even in a large area, it's proportional to the volume that you're covering, right? So if it goes out in every direction, a sphere, then it's the volume of the sphere grows very rapidly, which means that your power drops proportionally to like 1 over r cubed or whatever. So you need a lot of power. That's just kind of the point. So it ends up with your EW ends up being rather short range. So that's why you need multiple systems, because it just requires so much power to function. Unless you're directional, if you're beaming just at the target, that's a different story. But even then, you still you need a ton of power. So that's kind of my main points today. Is that Chasiv Yar, I think Russia will likely capture Chasiv Yar this summer. The estimates that I've heard a few. I heard a month ago that they expected to hold for 5 months, so that would mean 4 more months from now, which would be what, like August or whatever. So that's one estimate. Another estimate I've heard is they expect to hold it through May, and June might be iffy. So that would be like 2 months more. So those are kind of the two main estimates I've heard, is that they expect to hold it until May, or through May, like at least to the end of May, like the second half. And another estimate, they expect to hold it for about maybe 4 more months. But everyone that I've talked to has more or less agreed the Chasiv Yar will be captured by Russia. Most likely. It's not guaranteed, obviously, but they expect it to be. The way that I personally expect the attack to go is through the south, through this forest. I think will be their plan A. Um, plan B might be going around to the north, and plan C might be going even further south, like here. But ultimately, I do expect this area to be lost, and I expect the front to move. So that's not. So if you see it lost, like if we get there, I don't think it's like the end of the world. It's just the way things are. Yeah, there are defenses. There's defenses everywhere, but the issue is not so much the defenses. The issue is how many casualties is Ukraine willing to accept, and I think that number is small. Yeah. I think Russia is much more willing to accept casualties than Ukraine is. And that's in large part due to the lack of mobilization that Ukraine has not mobilized. Yes, Russia still uses helicopters. They use them all the time. We get videos from them, not frequently, like a few times a week. Like maybe like 3 or 4 videos from a helicopter per week. They don't post many helicopter videos, but they're used. Um, as for Avdiivka, I think Russia will probably eventually capture um, this kind of middle area between these two. I don't know. Are these like rivers? Whatever they are. But I think they'll eventually capture this whole middle area over the next few weeks. I don't think it will be happen that quickly, but I do kind of expect them to, and I expect them to try to break through Semenivka. I don't know where the front will eventually end up here, but I don't think where it is now is super stable. Um, yeah, that's kind of all I had to talk about today. If any of you have questions, I can go through questions. You can ask a question in a different language, and I'll just run it through a translator. What do you mean by here? Do you mean Avdiivka or do you mean Chasiv? How do magnets work? They're magic, and they don't work underwater either. Oh, are they digging in? Um, they are digging in, like in the rear. I mean, there's levels of digging in, right? There's like the guys who are there are digging in, but they can't dig in that well because they're just like a guy. What you need is engineers to build dedicated defenses. And you can't do that on the front. You have to do it further back because it takes heavy equipment and a lot of time. Like it takes like at least like a few days to like build something because you have to dig it out, you have to pour concrete and et cetera, et cetera. So it's like it's a process. So doing so it depends on what you mean by digging in. Do you mean just like taking a shovel and digging a hole in the ground? Then yeah, they're doing that. But if you mean like building bunkers, then no. Well, we're doing it further back. Um, well, I think, or man, I don't know. It's not even that I think it. It's I hope it. I hope that this year Ukraine never attacks. I hope or at least not in a big way. Not in a big way. They're like maybe like small attacks here and there, um, in order to maintain their defensive line, like little things like here and there, like like there was a little counterattack here, uh, where Ukraine pushed out, and they may have recaptured this tree line here. So like these sorts of like little attacks where they're just like maintaining their defense, those sorts of things are cool. Maybe I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but maybe Ukraine could counterattack near Terney and push Russia back a little bit. Like that could be a cool thing to do. Um, Maybe there could be a small counterattack here near Vyimka to push Russia back a little bit. So those sorts of smaller attacks could happen, but I really hope there's no bigger attack. I think Ukraine's best bet right now is to cause as much attrition to Russia as possible. Mostly in terms of vehicles, but also in terms of infantry. I think that is the best thing they can do to grind down Russian morale through casualties to make the war feel hopeless to a Russian soldier, to make it feel that every inch they move forward, they are losing so much that they can't go on anymore. That is kind of the feeling that I think Ukraine has to instill on Russia. Um, there was some interesting pieces, just nuggets. I don't know if they're true, so I want to just lead with that these might not be true, but they're interesting to me. They were talking about it was Russians, by the way. They were talking in about Ivanivska, where they were saying that for infantry to get to Ivanivska was a 3-day walk, and the reason why is because the danger involved. That it was a 3-day walk to get there. That you could not really medevac people. Like once you start going, you can't medevac them out, and that the people doing this walk were contract soldiers who were relatively newly contracted. So basically, guys who signed up like 8 or 9 months ago went through some training, and then they got thrown here, and they're basically green soldiers. That was the claim. The claim was that they had to walk this whole distance, basically going from one defensive position to another, like one bunker to another, just like walking, walking, walking. And on the way there, you would take a lot of casualties. So, and I think we're probably going to see the same sort of stories about attacking Chasivyar. It's really this whole area, probably basically everywhere, to be honest. Being above ground is not where you want to be. You want to be like a mole person, or like a dwarf. You want to be a dwarf that digs underground. You want to go find a Balrog, you know? I do think that you should be you should understand that Ukraine is going to lose ground all year, probably, like pretty consistently all year long. They're going to lose ground, and in return, they're going to be taking out the Russian vehicles. And last time I talked about the Russian losses. In fact, I saw a comment about the Russian losses the other day that I kind of want to talk about again. Well, I want to talk about what they said, but first I need to do something. So give me a second. I need to add yesterday's losses to my totals, and because that is relevant. Oh boy. uh, yep, it always takes a second to do this. Okay. So we're going to add yesterday's losses to the totals. And Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to change the date range to this month. And we're going to look at the losses. The totals are... Okay. So far this month, and or keep it, I'm just going to say, so far this month, we have Russia losing. So this is only counting destroyed, not counting damaged or abandoned or anything like that. This is just destroyed. 19 tanks and 36 infantry fighting vehicles. That's so far this month. Right. So if they produce like 40 of each per month, that would mean that they've already lost a month. Their whole quota for this month of infantry fighting vehicles is gone, and half of their tank quota is gone in 4 days. So that's what you should pay attention to. This is unsustainable losses, basically. You want tunnels. Russia likes tunnels. Russia's built a few tunnels, haven't they? That's how they captured Avdiivka, it's through a tunnel. How many vehicles has Ukraine lost? Let's see. They've lost 7 tanks and 2 infantry fighting vehicles, 2 armored personnel carriers, and 4 artillery pieces. And 2 MRAPs. So that's 17 total. Russia has lost 1 air defense, 1 armored recovery vehicle, 4 artillery pieces, 19 tanks, 36 infantry fighting vehicles, 12 armed personnel carriers. So that's 73 total. And that's in 4 days. Yeah. And that's not even counting everything. This is just what we saw. Because, like, there's like 6 more vehicles from yesterday's attack that aren't included in these numbers because the video came out today. And they're going to be included in today. And this is only counting yesterday. So, okay. So, this is like not even everything. And then there's all the vehicles that we don't even see. Like, for example, one channel I follow, who I think they're relatively trustworthy. They said that they destroyed like 8 D30s, and he said that he has a video of it, and his commander won't let him post the video. So, any news from Congress? Well, uh, I think it's clear that um, Johnson's not gonna. He's gonna do nothing for as long as possible. Thank you, Luis. Yeah, yeah, unsustainable losses. Ah, man, people have the attention span of a goldfish, don't they? They have the attention span of a goldfish. It's like you think everything has to just happen immediately, don't you? It's like, oh, they've had unsustainable losses for 2 years. Like, yeah, yeah, that's why they're like running out of vehicles now. Why do you think they're driving around in golf carts? Remember 2 years ago when they would do an attack with like 30 tanks and like 60 infantry fighting vehicles in one attack? And now look at their attack, and it's like 3 tanks and 4 infantry fighting vehicles. What do you think happened? Do you think that they don't want to attack with like 80 vehicles? Do you think they're like, oh, that was overrated. We'll just attack with 1 from now on, and then we'll drive in on golf carts. Do you think that's their plan? Do you think they like that? It's because they're running out of vehicles, dude. Oh, you want to know more about the tunnel in Avdiivka? Um, if you go to Wargonzo, he made a video about it. But basically, um, I can't remember exactly where it was. I think it was right here, but they dug a tunnel from like over here somewhere, and they tunneled under Avdiivka, over to like here-ish. I can't remember the exact location, but it's like over here. They dug a tunnel. They filled this end with explosives, like a lot of them, and then they detonated it and blew a giant hole in the ground. And then they like charged infantry out of the hole, and yeah, they like broke through the defensive line basically because the defensive line is like over here, and they like blew a tunnel like over there somewhere. But yeah, and then they did their other tunnel thing where they like went into a pipe and like walked through the pipe and broke through the other part of the line over here. They like pipe and got out over here. And so yeah, their breakthroughs in Avdiivka consisted of a tunnel and a pipe. Weird, huh? But yeah, there was Wargonzo made a video where they like went into the tunnel and like showed the people digging the tunnel, and he did an interview with the guys who were working there. Yep. I for one, I hope that if there's any more tunnels that go under the Ukrainian defensive line, I hope they collapse the tunnel. Personally, I think we should have a no tunneling under us policy from here on out. Okay. I don't know. Are there any other topics people would like to talk about? Okay. Russia's not gonna win. Russia is so screwed. It's actually kind of laughable to think that they could win. Dirk, we don't have a new song, no. But we do have a banger. So we have a great song for the listeners out there. I do want to say that I'm looking to see if there's public info on this. I think has it been confirmed that the bombers took off, that the Tu-95s took off? I was in turning, whatever. Leave alone, Gik. Gik's making fun of me. How's the border with Belarus? Like, what does it matter? Who cares? Like, Belarus isn't gonna do anything. Anyways, I guess I'll just play the outro song. Gik's making fun of me because he says that the monster tank was in tourney. Fine. The tank was in tourney, but it doesn't change anything. They're using their stupid monster tanks all over the place. I'll give you a monster tank. Gik. Give you a monster tank. Um, the Ukrainian strike on that airfield, I think, um, from what I understand, the strike failed. So I don't really have anything to say. I don't know if the EW works on tank mines or I mean the electrical ones. I kind of doubt it, but oh yeah, the Pokrovsk did get hit by missiles today. I haven't mapped today yet, but yeah, Pokrovsk got hit really with S-300s, I believe. There were several civilians wounded, etc. Yeah, there were other places hit too. There was New York was hit by multiple airstrikes and artillery. Um, a bunch of civilians were wounded. A few were evacuated. Um, uh, Ocheterna or Churdy, whatever. This was also hit, and civilians were evacuated out. Um, yeah, this whole kind of like just behind the front on this whole kind of arc here is getting hit pretty hard with pretty daily shelling. Um, all of these settlements, like the larger ones especially, and a lot of these fields get hit too, because these fields have artillery, Ukrainian artillery in the fields typically. So you see shelling reports from basically here and there and here and there and there and there and there. These are all like common shelling. It's just you could just draw like you could take a measuring stick and just put the measuring stick like that, and like everything on that line is getting hit by Russian or shelling every day. And deeper back, if you kind of draw a line like this, all of that's getting hit by MRL and S-300s. You get them in Solidova, and you get them in today in Pokrovsk, but more frequently, like Beranivka gets hit pretty frequently. Alexandropil, um, yeah. So all these areas are getting hit by MRL on a daily basis and missiles. The ammo situation in Ukraine is actually pretty good, I think. In the next few weeks, Ukraine is going to get a lot of ammo, like a lot, like a lot, like so much, because they're getting like what, like 500,000 from the European Union. They're going to get like 1 million from the Czech deal. They're just getting so much ammo. I think they're getting 300,000 from Germany or something. I can't remember, but altogether, it's just so much ammo all at once. Yeah, Gik thinks it's very important for you to know that Mad Max was near Turney, but it doesn't change my opinion on anything else I said. Well, I don't know if the artillery guys that I hear from, they are pretty happy with their ammo right now. So they're just like genuinely happy, I think. Their complaints, they used to complain every day about not having enough ammo. Now they complain every day about not being allowed to post their cool videos on the internet. That's been the change. The change was we don't have enough ammo to we have so much ammo that we want to post all of our cool videos. So um, that's the change that I see. Yeah, you can only hear me because I'm the only one talking. You want a mega aircraft? You want a Mad Max aircraft? I don't know. I don't think aircraft need that, to be honest. The EW works from what I can tell. It's just that the problem is that the EW isn't going to save you. The EW doesn't fix all the other problems. The problems are mines, missiles, holes in the ground. Those are the problems. I don't see why Ukraine should go on an offensive. I don't think they have anything to gain. They you don't have to attack to win a war. You don't even have to win a battle to win a war. Wars are they're not like it doesn't work like that. It's not a video game. You're not playing for points. You're fighting for resources. Ukraine has a lot of issues fighting for resources in that their economy is horrible. Um, they don't have enough manpower. They have demographic issues. But what Ukraine has is very wealthy allies who can provide a lot of things. That's Ukraine's resource, is their allies. Russia has very few allies, and their allies don't really like them very much. So their resources have to mostly come from within. But the problem for Russia is that their industry is weak. They can't produce everything that they need. And that's their problem. And also that their economy is also not great. Their demographics problem is just as bad as Ukraine's is. So they have a lot of issues. But the difference maker is the allies. Ukraine has the allies in Russia. Russia has allies, but their allies are not your the allies you want to have. They're allies of desperation. Like China doesn't really like Russia. Iran works with Russia because Iran gets things in return, and those things that they value. So Russia has allies, but those allies are milking them. Russia has to pay a lot to get that support from their allies. They're not really allies. It's more of a dependency, people taking advantage of them. So in the long term, I think Russia's in a lot of trouble. Yeah, North Korea. Yeah, I forgot about them. What do I think will be in 5 years? I think the war will be over in five by then. I think in 5 years the focus is going to be on rebuilding Ukraine, which I imagine. I kind of imagine Ukraine being rebuilt as a potential boon for Europe. Um, I think it would be good for the whole continent when that happens. But we'll see what happens. It could also be that Europe doesn't want to rebuild Ukraine because they don't want the competition, or the demographics issues could catch up, and the debt problems, and there's a lot that could happen. So we'll see. Um, how many men does Ukraine need? A lot. They need a lot. Like I saw some comment today. I think it was by Sniper. I think Sniper wrote it this, but I agree with him that he thinks that the territorial defense brigades. He thinks that they should be disbanded. That the officer corps should be retired. The majority of the soldiers should be retired, and all of the ones that you keep should be combined with existing brigades. That's what he thinks. And I kind of agree with him. I do kind of believe that the territorial defense brigades should probably be mostly retired, and the remainder combined, maybe into or one or more brigades, like the territorial defense brigades, to just be combined into brigades, like on their own, or to be added to other brigades as manpower. Thank you, Lord Flashheart. But anyways, the reason he wants those brigades disbanded is because it's basically for three reasons. The first reason is he thinks that having one fully staffed mechanized brigade is more valuable than having three partially staffed territorial defense brigades. So that's his first point, which I agree with. The second point is that the territorial defense brigades often have much weaker leadership, and he thinks that that leadership should be basically retired, which is probably true. And the third point is that a lot of the territorial defense people have been fighting since day one of the invasion, and a lot of them need to just retire out of combat because they've been in combat for so long that they're probably not combat effective anymore. So those are the three things. Those are his three reasons for wanting to get rid of the territorial defense. Thank you, Barack. And yeah, one of I don't think it's one. I think it's actually going to be probably a bunch of brigades are being transformed from mechanized brigades into infantry brigades, basically, because of the lack of armored vehicles. And yeah, I've seen that. I don't fully understand why Ukraine keeps making new brigades. I don't really see a point, but whatever. I just think that they should add to existing brigades. Like I think it's better to have fully staffed brigades than to have more brigades. Like I think um, first fully staff all the brigades that are good. Like all your best brigades should be fully staffed. Um, and if not, like over strength, like give them more than they need and allow them to rotate troops and rest people and train up people. You know, I think the existing brigades are like the good brigades are better run than those other newer brigades. So I don't understand why Ukraine keeps spreading their resources so much. I'd rather them be more focused, but there are like benefits to spreading out resources because you know the brigades may not be prepared to take on more people because the leadership may not like it may not be designed to take on so many people. You know, there's communication issues. So there's pros and cons on each side, but I ultimately think that the existing brigades should be expanded rather than making more brigades. Why not make divisions? Well, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I you know, in every situation, like every military and every war has different needs. And there's probably no universal solution. I personally think in this war, divisions would be better for Ukraine. That's my opinion. That doesn't mean divisions are always better, but I think in this war, they're better. Thank you, Kev. Yeah, that troll guy, I didn't block him because he was a troll. I blocked him because he was so bad at trolling and it annoyed me. Like it was cringy. It was just cringy. What's the main use for assault boats? Man, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to use the boats. I'm not really a boat person, more of a ground person. I don't like water. I'm not even sure where the boats will be used. Like, I don't know. Like, ask Exit. She probably knows more about boats. Saying that Ukrainian commanders can't handle larger than a battalion, that's not necessarily true. Because Ukraine has commanders who can command larger units. It's just that those commanders are not rewarded. If those commanders were promoted, I think they would do a great job. But they're not promoted. They're just left where they are. Yeah, I have there's like a buy me a coffee on my map on the top of the map. This right here, this link is a buy me a coffee. And if you prefer that, that's an option. Enough for 10 divisions? I don't know. Maybe enough for 5. Maybe enough for 5. I think that'd be enough, to be honest. I don't ban that many people from the chat. It's like 1 a month, if not fewer. There's probably, if you look at the ban list, it's probably like 6 people, maybe. I don't know. Unless Martin's been banning people, because Martin is the only other person I gave the ability to ban. Martin may have just been banning everybody. But me, I think I've banned like 5 or something like that. Oh yeah, I ban everybody on Twitter. I used to never ban, but now I ban everybody. I think from the time that I got Twitter until last year, I blocked 0 people. Or maybe 1. In like the first 13 years I used Twitter. But then like this past year I've banned like probably 50,000. Anyways, that's all I got to talk about today. I just wanted to talk about EW and a little bit about Chassis VR. That's all I wanted to say today. I think if this missile strike is tonight, I think it's going to be a large missile strike, so you should keep an eye out on that. All right, so that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna play the outro song, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
In the land of vodka and matryoshka dolls, there's a problem that's got them climbing walls. No more oil is flowing through their pipes because someone's got a bad case of the smoking hype. They used to have the riches oh so grand, but now they're running dry, it's getting out of hand. They built refineries with so much care, but accidents happen when you light a cigarette flare. Oopsie daisy, Russia's oil gone up in smoke. They're starting to panic, they're starting to choke. No more gas in their tanks, no more fuel for the fire. Someone please tell them it's time to retire. In the land of vodka and matryoshka dolls, there's a problem that's got them climbing walls. No more oil is flowing through their pipes because someone's got a bad case of the smoking hype. They used to have the riches oh so grand, but now they're running dry, it's getting out of hand. They built refineries with so much care, but accidents happen when you light a cigarette flare. Oopsie daisy, Russia's oil gone up in smoke. They're starting to panic.